Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back. 6 after 8 o'clock in South Africa. We cross over to Istanbul in Turkey and welcome to the program Professor Dr. Mehmet Özkan. He is a researcher and a humanitarian. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program.
Alaikum salam. Alaikum salam. Good morning to everyone in South Africa. Good morning, sister.
Nice to have you on the show. So let's look at Turkey's role in Francophone West Africa. Given the military coups we've seen over the past few years, it's not just one country in West Africa. It was Mali in 2020, it was Guinea in 2021, Burkina Faso in January and September 2022, and most recently in Niger, that was in July 2023. So obviously, a lot of analysis is being done regarding Turkey and its presence in these countries. Is Turkey, in fact, replacing France in these Francophone West African countries? Welcome to the show. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much. No, I mean, the short answer to that is no. And long answer is a little bit complicated because, Turkey's relation with Africa and especially with Francophone Africa has been developing in recent years and in all aspects. Military cooperation, development cooperation, educational cooperation, also trade and energy. So in all aspects, Turkey has been developing relation with Francophone Africa. So what happens is that, once this Francophone African sees Turkey as a potential ally and beneficial ally based on win-win scenario between those countries in West Africa and Turkey, so they cherish that relationship. And some people from outside, especially, they may consider and they discuss whether Turkey replacing France in West Africa. But as I said, deep relation does not mean replacing anyone. Turkey has been doing this relation with many African countries, not only in West Africa. In the last 20 years, Turkey's relation with Africa has skyrocketed in all aspects, economically, politically, and also humanitarian-wise. But the recent years, the focus has been mostly on West Africa, not because Turkey wanted that, because mutually it has been convenient, especially with after 2016, when the military coup attempt happened in Turkey. Most of the West African countries has been very helpful to Turkey in many aspects, including closing the Fethullah Gülen terrorist organization schools, which is considered a terrorist organization in Turkey as well. So that sort of made, that sort of brought Turkey closer to those countries in security and also foreign policy aspects. So relations has been deepened a lot. Of course, also wish to add that France's influence has been decreasing in the region at least a decade now. It's not a recent phenomenon, and many leaders and many people in Francophone Africa, they were not happy with how France deal with them, how France approach them, and how France treats them. So also it has been under discussion, and once this coupled together, and we get a sense as if Turkey is replacing France. As I said, Turkey is creating new space for its relation with Western Africa, and it's going well, as I mentioned, including, for example, not military issues, political issues, and the other issues has developed so far that it is, I can say, Turkey's best relation now in Africa is with West African countries, not the East or Southern African countries. Of course, in the East, we can mention Somalia specifically, which is a special case. Perhaps we should not treat inside in general Turkish Africa relations, but Francophone Africa is always, is on the rise in Turkey's relation with Western Africa.
Now, undoubtedly, Turkey does seem to enjoy a very, very solid relationship with these countries that we've just mentioned a little earlier on. But regarding these coups, they seem to be ongoing. What sort of an impact does it have on Turkey's regional relations?
I think, military coups in West Africa only impacts their relation with the region countries. Outside of the region, many countries, they don't really pay too much attention, perhaps except France, because France has lots of to lose in the region. But other than France, I think US is paying just lip service, and none of the countries are interested in that. And even Nigeria, they were focusing through ECOWAS to change the direction the military coups are happening and to turn them immediately to civilian. Even Nigeria is sort of now it's backtracked its perspective that ECOWAS should be used as a mechanism to interfere in those countries militarily. So there is a sense that people are happy. I can quote, for example, one Nigerian diplomat told me that, while there is not even one chicken killed in a military coup in one country, why should we involve? So this is the exact scenario. Even the chicken that did not get killed in the military coup. So unfortunately, the social level, this is the reality that the anti-French sentiment has been sort of a source for this legitimacy for the military coup leader, and at the same time for society. So that brings them together. But the people's unhappiness with the leaders and everything, it was already clear. And of course, everybody expected. Even Turkey officially said that, Turkish President Erdogan said that, hopefully there will be no military involvement, and hopefully they will back to civilian government. People expect that, the military takeover will not take longer, and they will back to democratic process. But as I mentioned, the coup is happening in each country in Western Africa. It has been sort of a disease in a way, and I don't know how that will end up. Perhaps we can talk about a new regional dynamic in Francophone Africa, and that will bring new sources to the surface, and we will have different discussions from now on. At least is blaming someone, blaming French, blaming other countries, or blaming anyone, blaming the government or status quo will be over. Now society there expect delivery from their leaders, including those who dare to take over the administration through military means. So I think that's the challenge now in that region. But overall, in global actors, when you look at different regions and different global actors, as if they don't really pay too much attention. They just follow closely. They are cautiously following, and they just want to see what will come out from those military takeovers. Also, Turkey's position is like that. Turkey is acting as a cautious diplomat. Saying what it needs to be said behind the curtain. That military takeover is not a correct one. It should not be followed. But at the same time, because it's far away from Turkey, and Turkey is just being a cautious diplomat in line with international other political actors.
I'm wondering about those international political actors, the Western world in particular. How do they view this situation where Turkey is strengthening their ties with these West African countries? And possibly there might be a sense that with Turkey's influence in these countries, possibly that's the reason why France is losing ground in these countries. They're not popular any longer. And, they have lost a lot of ground. And do you believe that in a certain sense, with France losing ground in these countries, that was the reason why we had these military coups in these particular countries? Or is it totally unrelated?
It may be related, but we cannot establish a direct link between them, because French has been losing the ground for at least a decade now in that region, and society was not happy with the leaders, how they performance. So military leaders sort of utilize the environment, and they utilize the anti-French sentiment at the same time. They to legitimize their actions in that region. So that's how it happened. If you look at the West, of course, France is very cautious, and they were not very happy. They are not very happy what happened there. But the other countries, as I mentioned, they're just following the suit, and of course they don't understand one point, that Turkey does not have any colonial background in Africa. That's why
Absolutely.
people see Turkey from especially Francophone Africa in a different way. Of course, Turkey has its own relations, its own problems, its own issues. Turkey's power is limited, but they see a different type of relations with Turkey that an equal relationship is possible. That's why I mean Turkey's approach to Africa has been a model, and in less than 2 decades, Turkey 22 decades ago Turkey was not even known, was has nothing to do in Africa. It had only 12 embassies. Now Turkey has over 43 embassies in African continent, and relations is extremely high. I mean, trade has been always, 5 times increased. Other activities increased a lot. Turkish Airlines connects Africa. So in less than 2 decades, Turkey has been one of the key actors in Africa. But now the issue is Turkey has been active in humanitarian and economic level. Now Turkey is slowly becoming a political and security actor in Africa, which is high politics. So that, of course, that will bring more influence from Turkey to the continent, and of course, expectation from Turkey will also increase from those countries in Africa, and so that we will see whether how they will match each other. But
Okay.
yes.
All right, we need to go for an ad break. When we come back, I want to explore the issue around mineral resources in the West African countries, and does that leave France at a huge disadvantage? Also, China's have their sights on Africa as well. How is this all going to play out? Because Turkey is now almost quite involved in these West African countries. Is China going to gain a foothold at all? And then we look at the gains both ways for Turkey and these West African countries. Is this truly a win-win situation? All of that and much more right after the ad break with Professor Mehmet Özkan. He's based in Istanbul in Turkey.
This is Salam Media.
Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, now we cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back. This is News and Views with me, Julie Ali, this Monday morning. We are talking with Professor Mehmet Özkan, researcher and humanitarian based in Istanbul, Turkey. Just hold those 3 thoughts that I shared with you before the ad break. I think something really, really important that we need to actually unpack here is the issue around the CFA franc, backed by France and pegged to the euro. This is, of course, the official currency of not only the countries that we mentioned earlier on, but 14 African nations, including Niger, Mali, Gabon, and Burkina Faso. In exchange, France demands that these nations maintain half of their foreign exchange reserves in the French treasury. This financial tie, which will not simply end, allows Paris to still exert influence over the economic and political affairs of the CFA franc countries. Your thoughts?
Yes, exactly as you read. I mean, that's a different way of colonialism in a way, because you are no longer there as France, but you keep your economic influence very deeply, and you control their monetary policy, their money, their reserves, and of course you will have political and security influence. And once everything come out, once everything fall out, then you fall out in a very big way. That's why France's biggest worry is this. Not only political but also economically, because 14 countries in West Africa, they use CFA franc, and they as you read, their reserve, their 50% their reserve should be kept in Paris. So it's a complicated matter. France actually was genius to develop in a way a perfect way of modern economic sort of exploitation in that way. And imagine, if you fly from Mali to Paris, it's like 6 hours flight. Minimum 6 hours. So despite this distance, you still keep your economic influence, and you are involved in all economic. And plus, through that influence, of course, you are involved in political and economic matters, political and security matters. So France has a lot to lose in this military coups if it goes as it is now, because anti-French sentiments has been fed with the society, and people are supporting these military coups with the sort of based on idea that they are eliminating France. For example, in Mali, they sent French ambassador back. They even canceled France as official language. We may see in West Africa an interesting Englishization in a way, that even in education, other fields that we may see a different trends, which could be a total break from the other side. But also, I want to mention, something, because sometimes when we understand, when we look at French, US, UK, and to all European countries, to African relations, we miss something. French colonialism is total assimilation, which means, the more you resemble to France or any French, the more you are welcome. And this kills local identity totally. Today, perhaps the best French has been spoken not in Paris; it's spoken in Kinshasa. because Paris is full of immigrants, from West Africa, from North Africa, from different countries. But these assimilation policies has come to a limit that people no longer accept that. In many, for example, in West African countries, they are looking for alternatives in education. They try to rewrite the history. They want to change the educational policies a little bit slowly. Even recently, Togo's president, for example, in United Nations General Assembly, he said very clearly, we fed up your naming, we fed up your understanding. So he clearly reject and said no to all things. So that's what's happening in West Africa, and France is a lot to lose, and we will see how this relation between France and West Africa will play out in coming years, perhaps a decade.
Okay, that also answers the question I put to you before the ad break regarding France and its hands on West Africa's mineral resources, with the issue around this CFA Franc. They still are very involved in these countries and still have access to those mineral resources. These coups in Africa are not a new thing, and depending the influence of different Western nations in these African countries, I guess we will continue seeing these coups playing out year or from time to time. But let's look at Erdogan's cautiously diplomatic approach regarding coups in West Africa, and this one in particular. Even though Erdogan has warned a military intervention in Niger, this is for the potential of it creating instability in the region, and demanded a return to constitutional order and a democratic administration in the region. So he does warn that there may be a military intervention. Would that be by the Turkish troops themselves, or would it be other Western NATO affiliated troops?
No, I mean, he refers exactly to ECOWAS military intervention in the region, because ECOWAS at the beginning of the military coup in Niger, I mean, they were focusing, they were openly saying that there will be military intervention in Niger to normalize the country. Of course, I mean, if you as ECOWAS members, the biggest country in ECOWAS is Nigeria, and in northern part of Nigeria and the southern part of Niger, they are families, they are kins, they know each other very well, and they just speak in local language, they all speak the same language. But in the northern part, I mean, in Niger, they speak French. In the north of Nigeria, they speak English as a foreign language, but their local language is the same. So that intervention could even put Nigeria in danger as well. Even Nigeria, because different. For example, now current president of Nigeria, he's from south, and when he mentioned that there could be a military intervention in Niger, in the northern part of Nigeria, they were all against. They said, "What's happening?" Because in the south there are Christians, in the north there are Muslims. So they even interpreted as a Christian crusade to the Muslims. So what happens? I mean, there is more dangers if there is any military intervention that can go beyond Niger, that can even destabilize Nigeria. And once Nigeria is destabilized, you could imagine all Western Africa and many countries will be impacted. That's what Erdogan was warning very clearly. But of course, at the same time, he was calling it to be back to the constitutional order. That's why, I mean, the region is very tense, and it's on alert. And also, there is a sense in the region that anyone does military coup now, I mean, it is time to do it, because, I mean, theoretically, no one can prevent it, including 3 countries: Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Those countries who are ruled by military now, and they find an association which is called association for Sahel countries. So they even formed an association that nobody can involve in their country, this militarily. And also Burkina Faso openly said that if there is any involvement in Niger militarily, they will be also supporting Niger. So the region is tense, but the question is here, region is asking for a new order, total new order. People want change in their life, economic life, political life, and social life, especially economically. And I don't think the military will be able to deliver, but military is a transition period. Now politics will be much more important. After eventually there will be election in those countries, and new politicians will be asked more things to do, and politics will be real politics to deliver things on this region. That's why, I mean, everything is now in on tense, and everybody's waiting on the what comes next and how it will be, how things will be developing in coming years.
Okay, we've got about 3-4 minutes left and one or two more important questions before I let you go. China's influence in Africa, have they set their sights on these West African countries as well? And if they have, would there then be some sort of a disruption between China and Turkey?
No, I think China's interest in West Africa is mostly on the fishery, especially in the I mean West Africa's border. There is a sort of I mean conflict in a way, or disagreement between China and those countries, because Chinese are using extremely to fish and everything in those countries in Pacific Ocean. That's one issue. But China's involvement is based mostly in East Africa, not on the West Africa. But of course, these military coups can open the door for China to involve more. But we will see. But so far we haven't seen that much. But Turkey and China will not crash in the region, because in Africa there are lots of things to do that. Even if you bring, I mean, 10 more actors like China or Turkey or other countries, I think there are lots of things to do. None of them will touch each other. So there are lots of space for each country to do. And they are doing different ways. China is doing different ways. Turkey is focusing on small projects, but Turkey is focusing more psychological other aspects, and China is doing typical neo-capitalist perspective. They come, they give money. I mean, you borrow money from China as a country, then you become indebted, and China comes and ask you for your port, for different things, and it creates different dependency to China. So that's a different point. And plus, I mean, some countries, they are not happy with Chinese involvement in the continent. Some countries are happy, but the trend is, the more you see countries are going towards authoritarian regimes, or in a way, I mean, in a different direction outside of the Western influence, they immediately find a place in China. And because when Western countries criticize them, that's only option they have. They go to China or Russia. That's why we see, I mean, Wagner influence, and in Sudan, in Central African Republic, even in Mali, in different places, even Russian influence. So the West relations with the countries actually defines other countries' relations with them, especially China and Russia. But the Turkish case is different, because Turkey is developing its own way of understanding, its own approach to the country. And I think now both sides understand each other. Turkey is neither China nor Russia nor any Western country. Turkey is Turkey. And I think that has been very received and bought by many African countries. That's why in their relation with Turkey, they look at very different from compared to their other relations.
Okay, we need to wrap up. I still wanted to explore the failed military coup in Turkey in 2016 and the whole issue around the Gulen movement. But let's leave that for another time, including your humanitarian work. So we'll talk with you again in a week or two, inshallah. You go well. Keep us in your du'as, and salamu alaikum to you.
Alaikum salam, sister. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
And you. It is exactly 8:34. News and views on Salam Media. We are going to be talking with Hassan Largat in a minute or two. He is a social justice activist, and we're going to ask the question: what does South Africa mean? What does being South Africa mean in the year 2023? So please do stay with us.